Greetings, my Israelite brothers and sisters, heirs, joint heirs, adopted, grafted, natural, spiritual, however you may come. We hope that this car cam finds all of you well and blessed on this wonderful day. Let me see if I can do something here. Yeah, let me bring that in just a little bit. So I hope that this car can find you all well. Wanted to touch base because, how you doing, Brother Ricky? We are countdown to the Pentecost, so June the 16th, 2019. June the 16th, that's this coming Sunday. How you doing, Canson? Hope everything's going well with you, my brother. Up in Philadelphia. We're counting down, we're getting closer to Pentecost. This Pentecost commemorates the year that the Lord will return, the year that the Lord will return. You know, one of the things that parallels that I want to talk about regarding Pentecost that I normally do not touch upon. How you doing, Brother Tobiah? How you doing, Sister Linda? Hope everything is well. So I want to touch on something dealing with this Pentecost that I normally do not touch on. It's not an oversight. It's just one of those things that it happens, just overlook it. So here's what I want to bring up. Notice that Pentecost is the morrow after the seventh Sabbath. The morrow after the seventh Sabbath. Let me draw some parallels with that, because there are other things that is also the morrow after the Sabbath, and it's called Jubilee. Jubilee is when you're supposed to grow on your land for 6 years. The 7th year, you let it rest. You grow on it for the next 6 years. The 7th year, you let it rest. You grow on it for 6 years. The 7th year, it will rest. You grow on it for 6 years. The 7th year will rest. And you do that process 7 consecutive times. You grow on the land for 6 years. The 7th year, you let it rest. When you do that 7 consecutive time, on the 49th year, when you get to that 7th session where you grow on it for 6 years and then you let it rest, the morrow after the 49th year, which is the 50th year, is the year of Jubilee. It's the year of Jubilee. Notice that things happen on the morrow after the Sabbath. Now let's roll it back, because this lets you know that the Sabbath is real also. Notice that the Sabbath is you work 6 days, you rest the 7th. Notice that's a repeated cycle. A repeated cycle. You work for 6 days, the 7th year, the 7th day, you rest. And that's a repeated process every week. You work 6 days, you rest on the 7th. Now let's go back over to Jubilee. You grow on your land for 6 years. The 7th year, you let it rest. You grow on it for 6 years. The 7th, you let it rest. In Pentecost, you number 7 weeks. And on the 7th Sabbath, tomorrow after the 7th Sabbath, you have Pentecost. The morrow after the 9th year, you have Jubilee. There's a strong parallel and things, how math formulas all are in sequential order of 7 when it comes to the Most High. And this is something that you cannot overlook, something that you got to really pay attention to. It's not there just to have it there. It's there because the Almighty is constantly giving us a message through this parallel of sevens. And there's a message in that. So I wanted to just bring a little connection to that so that you can kind of connect all the dots. Again, the Pentecost is a reference. Not only is it about the resurrection, but it's also the year that the Lord returns, because the year that the Lord returns, it is also during the time of the first resurrection. Now, on day 1 of 50, he is the first fruits. You start counting the first fruits. Check this out. You start counting the first fruits. When you reap the harvest, you wait till the Sabbath. Anytime you reap it during that week, from Sunday to Sabbath, that's from the first day to the seventh day of the week, any harvest that you reap during that week, on the morrow after that seventh day, which is the Sabbath, you give it to the priest, and the priest waves it. The waving always takes place on the first day. Always. The waving of the sheaf always takes place on the first day. So this is why he tells you, and you shall number on the morrow that you wave the sheaf, shall you start numbering 7 Sabbaths. So when you start counting on the first day to the 7th day, that's 1 Sabbath. You repeat that again. You do that 7 times. And the morrow after the 7th Sabbath, you have Penta, or 50. But again, it's the same thing. You work 6 days, you rest the 7th. You grow your crop 6 years, you rest the 7th. And when you grow your crop, 7 sessions of 6 days, and then you let it rest 7 on that 7th or that last 49th year. The very next year is Jubilee. Now, Jubilee is significant because what happens during Jubilee is that you have to, it's a year of restoration. It's the year of return. It's the year of forgiveness. That's what it is during that Jubilee. Now, ironically, Jubilee is to be celebrated on the Day of Atonement. That's when you celebrate Jubilee. So every 50 years when you have Jubilee, then it's always held on the Day of Atonement. Now, Day of Atonement is every year, but every 50 years on the Day of Atonement is, and that's when everything has to be restored. Now, there's a significant understanding in that we got to get from that, is that Israel, during the return of the Lord, Israel will be returned back to its land. Israel will be restored back to its inheritance. Israel will be in Jerusalem, because Jerusalem is going to be destroyed. And according to Zechariah, the 14th chapter, when the year of the Messiah, when he returns, he's going to clear out Jerusalem. He's going to clear out the city. And he's going to be a repairer of the breach, a restorer of paths to dwell in. And the land, as they say, that the land will be restored because it was planted, the lot was already planted where everybody's land was going to be. We already know that in Jerusalem, there's going to be 12 gates into the city. There's going to be 3 great gates on the north, 3 gates on the east, 3 gates, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. That's right. 3 gates on the north, 3 gates on the east, 3 gates on the south, and 3 gates on the west. That's 3, 6, 9, 12. 12 gates to the city. But each one of those gates have the names of the children of Israel according to their tribes. And those are the gates that they're going to enter into. Now, this is all important to know because we don't get this information often, how this whole thing is laid out and how this whole thing is supposed to work out. So, I want to just go over that one more time. I want to go over it one more time so you can understand the value of this and what I'm laying out to you. Pentecost is also the year of the Lord, the year of the return of the Lord. That's what it is. How you doing, Brother Alva? So Pentecost is also the year of the return of the Lord. It is also about the first fruits, the resurrection of the first fruits. Remember that when you start counting, I'm trying to show you the significance of the counting of the 7, because everything is based upon that counting. 6 days shall you labor. Let's put things on a weekly level. 6 days shall you labor and do all your work, but the 7th day is the Sabbath. He's trying to tell us something about the Sabbath. Then you have, when it comes to Pentecost, when you gather your harvest, when you reap the first fruits of your harvest, anywhere between the first day of the week and the 7th day of the week, whatever day that you gather your harvest during that week, it's got to be waved on the first day of the following week. And then he says, ye shall number from the time that you wave the sheaf offering, which is always on day 1, you have to number 7 Sabbaths. So when you go day 1 to day 7, that's 1 Sabbath. That's 1 week. When you start back over again, day 1 to day 7, that's 2 Sabbaths. Do that 7 consecutive times, and we're going to be coming into that this coming Sabbath. It would be the 7th Sabbath, and tomorrow after the 7th Sabbath, you should have 50. All right, so now let's go back to Jubilee. Jubilee is you grow on the land for 6 years. The 7th year, you let your land rest. You don't plant anything. Anything that grows, and let it grow on its own. You start all back over. You grow on it for 6 years, and you let it rest on the 7th year. Now notice that is in line with working 6 days, resting on the 7th day. Grow on your land for 6 years, let it rest the 7th year. Now let's take this to Pentecost. When you grow on your land for 6 years, rest the 7th year, when you do that 7 consecutive times, the morrow or the year after the 49th year are the 7 sessions of 7, which is 49, you're going to come to year 50. And when you come to year 50, it's called the Jubilee, and that is when everything has to be restored. Debt, loans, forgiveness, everything. Whether you want to call it a stimulus package, however you want to do it, everything goes back to restoration. And again, Jubilee and Pentecost is all about the return of the Lord. Now, Jubilee is always going to be on the Day of Atonement. The Day of Atonement signifies the day of the return of the Lord. It's when the Lord returns. But Pentecost is the year. So we have the year and we have the day of the return of the Lord, of the Messiah, okay? And so once that happens, it's not just haphazard, is that Jubilee falls on that time period. When Jubilee falls on that time period and the Lord returns, because Jubilee, and it falls on the Day of Atonement, Jubilee, again, is when everything has to be restored. So the children of Israel, the covenant people will get their inheritance, and it will be restored, and everything will be returned. And that's how the feast days and all of this works. That's one of their significant values that we have to understand, that we don't get that teaching. So a lot of people, a lot of people are always saying, how do you keep it, how to keep it? But it's important that you also understand why with the how. So I wanted to bring that out about Pentecost, Jubilee, and when they all fall on and what they all mean. So we hope and pray that this has been a blessing. I want to say hello to some of y'all. Oh, that's Sister Tia. How you doing, Sister Tia? You all go to Sister Tia's YouTube channel. Check it out. Alva, how you doing? Tobiah and Sister Linda, how you doing? Brother Canson, Brother Ricky. Don't you all forget to hit the like button. And shalom and peace to all of you all. And we